Naruto's path to power, perfect Jinchuriki and unstoppable rise against Konoha's root. Like, share and subscribe. Episode 121, Nanwu Gatling Bodhisattva. A gunshot suddenly drew everyone's attention. That was... What the? Everyone looked at Tion in confusion. At this time she was wearing body armor, holding an AK-47 and shooting madly at Hinata. And a shuttle bullet poured out as if she didn't want money, shooting towards Hinata. The fire of the muzzle and the speed invisible to the naked eye made the audience all look shocked. What kind of weapon is this? It turned out to be so powerful? However, what shocked everyone even more was Hinata on the opposite side, only to see that she made a strange move, which was similar to Hinata's soft fist but completely different. I'm on. Hinata muttered in an embarrassed whisper. Flowing water crushing rock fist, flowing water array. With Hinata's movements, her hands were like phantoms that instantly vibrated invisibly. So fast. Ningji, who was on the other side, saw Hinata's action and his face changed. This is the trick that Naruto taught the eldest lady alone. Flowing water, crushed rock fist. The punch technique used by the silver fangs of the S-class hero of the one-punch world can bounce off the attack with a strange force, weakening the strength of the attack. And the attack that would have been severely injured or even killed as long as it hit head-on will also lose its original effect. The pace is like an instantaneous movement, using the enemy's unpredictable body to accurately hit the point. As Naruto's #1 fan sister and Destiny Dai Hinata, Naruto spent hundreds of thousands of Destiny points to draw a satisfactory C-level reward. Don't look at only C-level. This is because he is only a training method, and cannot give people direct shadow-level rewards. And the silver fangs that brought this set of fists to the extreme undoubtedly reached the strength of the shadow level, especially in the case of fighting with people. With Shangbanga not losing to the flesh of Thunder Shadow, he can even touch the threshold of Super Shadow. Don't look at the upper limit of the one-punch superhuman world is ridiculously high, but the strength that these S-class heroes can exert is more than one notch worse than Saitama. With Saitama's strength, he can easily hang the entire Hokage world, but those S-rank heroes of the second level, in addition to blasting, only the tornado has reached the super shadow level in terms of comprehensive strength. But for Hinata, the shinobi, the flowing water crushed rock fist is definitely a fist technique that far surpasses the Hyuga family's soft boxing. Because even if it does not need the cooperation of the white eyes of the Hyuga family, it can still easily shoot extremely accurate attacks. According to the training method of this boxing method, he is suspected of strengthening dynamic vision, so as to predict the enemy's movements in advance, and he exerts amazing discernment skills to accurately capture the effect of fast enemies, which is equivalent to the same effect as exercising the naked eye directly to the white eye. The only difference from soft fist is that unlike soft fist's point to limit the internal damage of enemy chakra, flowing water crushed rock fist has extremely terrifying destructive power in addition to accurate points. The so-called crushed rock is the ability to crush the rock with great ease. Among them, the flowing water array is a defensive stunt that can bounce back or melt all attacks within the reach of both hands. And this kind of boxing method is undoubtedly a perfect match with the white eye, and the natural white eye allows her to easily use the flowing water crushed rock fist without having to go through hard practice and reach the recognition level of her eyes. And the attachment of chakra also allows Hinata to achieve the same attack intensity without muscle strengthening. This way, you don't have to worry that Hinata won't be able to leave Naruto a soft mouthful. As long as the oncoming bullets were close to Hinata's hands, everything was easily blocked by him with his tooth finger. The application of the flowing array can use a smaller chakra to achieve the same defensive effect as Huitian. In terms of durability and defensive strength, it is incomparable. Hinata's fingertips hit extremely small bullets with incomparable accuracy, and the movement is as unstoppable as flowing water, and at the same time, the huge destructive force that can smash rocks will instantly crush the bullet. The bullets that are constantly strafing and the bullets that are constantly falling at Hinata's feet give the audience an unparalleled visual impact. On the other side, Tion did not hesitate in the slightest. As a civilian ninja second only to Sakura in talent among the 12 small strongmen, the powerful psychic talent was directly transformed into a walking arsenal with Naruto's fire support. The power of guns is far from being matched by throwing shurikens. The energy generated by each bullet is definitely the same as the change in the nature of chakra, which has the added upper hand attribute. The point is this attack, which does not consume chakra at all. Tion kept shooting at Hinata like a walking bandit, throwing away the used weapons, and soon his feet were full of shells and used AK-47s. Change the bullet? Inexistent. Guns and ammunition are completely the lowest D-level lottery here in Naruto, and they are still the kind of one-draw warehouse. Among the many parallel worlds, the proportion of the technology world is still quite high. This thing is about to become a consolation prize for the D-class lottery, and it was thrown by Naruto to the surprise of Tion as a puff girl. The ape flying sun in the stands looked at the weapon of Tion and his eyes burst. This thing, it can simply change the pattern of ninja war. He could see that except for consuming a few chakras when channeling every day, the rest of the attacks did not need to release chakra at all. If this thing can be fitted to the lower shinobi, 530, This is equivalent to each lower shinobi being able to release an attack comparable to the middle shinobi, and it is also the kind that is non-consumable. With this weapon, the tactics of the sea of people will become a joke. As long as there is enough ammunition, it is completely possible to ride 1,000. And it is not only Sarutobi who wants to understand this, all rich businessmen, famous families, and ninjas who have a little insight all consider the terrorist strategic value of this weapon. With this thing, ordinary ninjas are not opponents. And if there are enough of them, basically all ninjas under the upper ninja should be unemployed. For a while, everyone's eyes were burning towards Tian. Even Neji and Shino on the side were rarely asked. Hinata and Tentian fought like a clash of cold weapons and hot weapons. The two people seemed to represent the change of times. And at this time, Tian saw that Hinata could not attack for a long time, and immediately put away his AK. Then she gritted her teeth and shouted at Hinata, "I'm really moving." I saw her shouting, "Nan no Gatling Bodhisattva, 6 pure depleted uranium bombs, 1 breath of 3,600 revolutions, great compassion and compassion to cross the world." With a bang, an obviously super technological Vulcan Gatling appeared in Tiantian's hand. As her trigger fell, the terrifying blue fire instantly swept over like a rainstorm. Episode 122. The Disappearing Caged Bird. When the blue fire Gatling came out, the people in the entire examination room were numb. What kind of ninja is this? Isn't this a little too powerful? The Vulcan Gatling, based on the Gatling machine gun, is a 6-barreled, externally powered automatic weapon with a rate of fire of up to 7,200 rounds/min. The length of the gun was 1829 mm, and the mass of the gun was 114.8 crackers. Fire 20 mm electric shock primer ammunition, such as M53A1 armor-piercing incendiary projectile, M56A1 high-explosive incendiary projectile, MSSA-1 ordinary bomb, warhead velocity 1030 millisecond. Originally, it was pressed on an airplane, powered by an electric motor, hydraulic press or steam push turbine, which turned the body tube and applied the voltage to the ignition circuit to launch. However, under the influence of chakra, a force that Newton could not control, Naruto successfully developed ninjutsu that transformed chakra into power, and then chakra urged this terrifying lethal weapon to operate. The strong recoil pushed back every day, and the terrifying rate of hundreds of rounds a second directly made everyone's scalp numb, and the most important thing was that it was installed with a 20 mm terrorist incendiary bomb. There was no grass where the bullet passed, and Hinata on the opposite side turned his head and ran the moment he took out the Vulcan every day, without the slightest hesitation. With her current chakra, it is absolutely impossible to have such a terrifying thing at the moment. The biggest advantage of ninjas over this thermal weapon is naturally their flexible mobility, chakra attached to both feet. An instant Hinata did not hesitate to slip away. The deafening roar directly slammed on the wall of the arena. The flame attached by the incendiary bomb and the terrifying impact of the bullet almost in seconds, blasted the wall of the arena out of a big hole. Everyone was stunned to see the weather panting and stopping the Vulcan cannon in their hands. This power has caught up with the Shuriken Shadow Avatar technique released by the 4th generation of Hokage. The problem is that the user in front of him is just a subordinate. The attack unleashed by a shinobi turned out to be the same as a shadow-level powerhouse. This left the entire audience in the examination room stunned. Even Ai Luo, who had always been expressionless, changed his face. If the bullet power of the AK-47 before was equivalent to Junmaru's 10-finger bullet, he could attack and easily defend it with the sand shield. The ninja tool of this Namma Gatling Bodhisattva in front of him can definitely easily penetrate his sand shield. Unless he uses his absolute defense, he may be able to block her attack, and Temari and Kankuro on the side are even creepy. This TM is shinobi? Originally, I thought that it was too much for my sand ninja village to postpone the ninja level of several of them to participate in the shinobi exam. As a result, this group of old sixes in Konoha actually directly used a ninjutsu attack comparable to shinobi. This TM still farts and there was no joy in the field, because she knew that she had lost, and with her current chakra urging the machine gun installed on the plane, she could urge it for a minute. Now that he has shot empty, it means that he has no power to fight again. She sat on the ground with her butt, looked at Hinata who appeared in front of her with a depressed look and sighed. Sure enough, it still can't. Your instantaneous skill is too difficult to aim. Hinata lowered his head with embarrassment when he heard this. The main thing is that Naruto taught well. Tian looked at Hinata with a jealous look and said, "No, I will also find him to learn this boxing technique when I turn back." The instantaneous movement is the special step of the flowing water crushing rock fist, which moves smoothly and quickly like flowing water, making it impossible for the enemy to predict the figure. Even though Tian has an unparalleled talent for sniping, he still pales in comparison to this kind of practice that exceeds the scientific field. And the end of the battle between the two women made Shino and Neji, who had not yet started fighting, breathe a sigh of relief. With the strength of the two now, whether it is Nai's worm or Ning Si's return to the sky, it will definitely not be able to block the attack of the Vulcan cannon. If you are accidentally swept away by the aftermath of the daily attack, even if you don't die, you will definitely lose your combat effectiveness. And the end of the battle between the two women finally allowed them to start fighting with peace of mind. Shino and Neji then contributed an extremely boring match to the audience. Insects from the sky came out of the ground in Shino's body and rushed towards Neji, who used his soft fist to accurately kill the approaching parasite. It's useless, your dead end is destined to be restrained by me, Shino said proudly to Neji, insect jade. The insects in the sky directly enveloped Ningxi's whole body like a tide, and Ningxi smiled slightly. Unfortunately, I'm not the same now. I saw that he slowly took off the forehead protection on his forehead, and the forehead that should have been Jingji to see the caged bird technique had no mark. Nanny, Ape Fei Ri, who knew the inside story, looked at Ningxi in shock. In amazement, he found the two brothers Hinata Hayashi and Hinata from the stands. At this time, they were looking at Neji with a smile on their faces, and then looked at Naruto with grateful eyes. It was Naruto who used his reincarnation eye to directly crack the spell mark of the caged bird. Even the clan of the direct bloodline of the moon in the vein of the Otoki Hamura line has never engraved such a thing as a caged bird. Where did the Hyuga clan of your earth vein come from? So many bear problems. After studying the sealing technique of the Uzumaki clan through the Book of Seals, Naruto went directly to Hinata's house to solve the spell of the caged bird for Hinata and the others. Hyuga Hayashi had been very resistant to the clan separation system, and now that he had the right to speak in the Hyuga clan, once the group of old men of the elder group lost the control of the spell seal over the split family, the abolition of the clan system became a natural thing. And this time, these two brothers used Ningji to announce that the Hyuga clan had cancelled the clan separation system with the caged bird as a cage. At this time, Ningxi showed a confident smile, and he was not afraid in the face of the sea of insects in the sky. Go back to heaven. The absolute defense belonging to the Hyuga clan instantly appeared in front of everyone at the scene, and countless parasites were directly blown out by the defense composed of chakra. Ningxi said to Jinai with a smug look, it's useless, now I have no flaws, your bugs can't enter my defenses anymore. However, Shino still put his hands in his pockets and said calmly, I will win. To ask why, son? Because my bugs can drill the ground. As soon as the words fell, countless parasites instantly appeared under Ningxi's feet, directly devouring Ningxi. Episode 123, Tianming Arms Opening, Dark Horse. Last year's first grade was defeated by a newcomer who was not famous. Newcomer? You call this a newcomer? Can't you see that big hole in the wall? That's what I said, it seems to be a weapon shop every day, right? I don't know if her ninja tools will be sold. No kidding, that powerful weapon looks like Konoha's secret ninja tool, how can it be sold? However, while people were still discussing, a huge banner suddenly slipped from the lounge of the gladiatorial arena. Congratulations to the opening of the Tianming Arms specialty store. All weapons in the middle ninja exam are 85% off, and buy 10 AKs and get 1 RPA bazooka. The huge banner instantly attracted people's attention, and the ape flying sun in the stands whispered to the dark part with an ugly face, go and stop him. This ninja tool must not be sold to other villages at will. And the big snake pill on the side suddenly laughed playfully. I didn't expect that the dignified Hokage would also stop the legitimate business of his own villagers. Ape Fei squinted and smiled. This is just a play by children in the village. These ninja tools are secretly developed by the village, and they cannot be sold at will. Orochimaru withdrew his gaze mockingly and didn't say anything more. And outside the arena, Kabuto looked at a dark 347 who fell to the ground at his feet and pushed his glasses. It really doesn't matter, Lord Orochimaru, that guy destroyed the monsters of the entire Kusanagi village alone when he was 6 years old. And the Kusanagi village is still frozen and snowy. Immediately, he changed into the costume of the dark part and flashed towards the arena, and at this time, the Naruto had already instantly arrived at Naruto's side, and he frowned and ordered Naruto, Naruto-sama asked you to take back the banner that was hanging out. The circulation of ninja tools will cause great harm to Konoha. And Naruto said with a smile on his legs, you know a fart, I am eliminating the gap in force between countries, and only when people will realize the fear of war is the time for world peace. And looked at Naruto with a frown. What kind of joke? Once this kind of ninja tool flows into other countries, the casualties of our village's lower and even middle ninja will suffer a devastating blow. As he said that, he walked with his legs towards the rope with the banner, and Naruto's originally narrowed eyes suddenly released a cold light, and a terrifying cold aura quickly spread along the soles of Naruto's feet towards the same feet, and a touch of ice pick stood directly on the soles of the same feet. Do you dare to try it? Naruto's cold voice came from behind him, and looked at the ice pick under his feet and swallowed his saliva. I just thought that you had been a personal guard for 4 generations, so I was kind enough to explain it to you. If you still don't know how bad it is, I don't mind letting you disappear. The terrifying killing intent made him sweat coldly, and he developed the sixth sense Naruto, whose mental impact was more terrifying than the so-called top overlord color domineering. After all, the most domineering color of the overlord is just a winding that initially interferes with reality, and Naruto's spiritual energy can already reach the level of superpowers such as Yin power. The oppression he exuded at will directly made him lose the ability to act. After Naruto withdrew his power and sat on the ground with his ass, Naruto had already walked to the fence of the stands and sneered, "Go back and tell Sarutobi to cherish the rest of his time." At this time, the battle between Shaoli and Yu below also reached a fever pitch. As Tong Kai said, Shaoli was not only extremely talented in ninjutsu and illusion, but even his physical skills were far inferior to the trainees of the same period. The reason why he was able to become a leader in physical skills was all because he had earned the qualification to stand side by side with him by working 10 times or even 100 times more than ordinary people. However, under Naruto's intervention, everyone who was also 12 Xiaoqiang did the same amount of training as Shaoli, so Shaoli's qualification of the crane tail became his biggest shackle. If it weren't for his belief in not being afraid of death to support him to open more 8 doors than others, Shaoli might not even have the qualifications to fight against others at this time. In the ninja world, talent bloodline is more important than hard work. In the original work, Sasuke took a month to reach the level of physical skill after Shaoli trained hard for 13 years and removed the weight. And in Izukaya, even if his talent is not as strong as Sasuke, his talent in physical skills is definitely in the forefront of the 12 small strong. With the same intensity of training as Shaoli, the teeth at this time are more than Shaoli in terms of physical fitness. It's just that in terms of cultivating the 8 gates of Dunjia, he doesn't have Shaoli's belief in risking his life to fight at any cost, so at this time, he only opened the safety zone of the first 3 gates. At this time, Shaoli had already opened the 5th door, and the bruises on his forehead and his bloodshot face were particularly shocking. And the teeth on the other side are not too much. He and Akamaru transformed into a 2-headed dog, and the 8-door Duenjia brought chakra bonuses and the ultimate exertion on the body so that the speed of the 2-headed dog reached the speed of the tooth wolf tooth. The terrifying collision of the two set off a burst of dust in the air. Li Lianhua, true tooth. A huge impact was issued, and 3 figures flew directly out of the smoke and dust and fell into the distance. Shaoli, teeth. Several people looked towards their teammates, and at this time, the 2 people and the dog all fainted with Venus. Tian Tian looked at Ning Ci, who was sucked dry of chakra, and Shaoli, who fainted, and sighed, "We lost." Shino pulled down his unconscious teeth and checked it to see that it was okay, and then put his hands in his pockets and pretended to say, "It's inevitable, because I don't see the possibility of us losing." Unbeknownst to him, Hugenma looked at Tian Tian, who had already admitted defeat, and raised his hand and announced, "Winner Oil Girl Shino Squad." As soon as these words came out, the entire venue let out a deafening cheer, which was a stark contrast to Naruto's full boos before. Everyone was shocked by this wonderful competition, whether it was the terrifying ninja tools, Hinata and Shaoli, the physical skills of Ya, or Shino's insect control skills. The big snake pill in the stand said with a smile, "It's very lively." The 3 generations on the side nodded and said, "Because it's a very exciting game." Orochimaru narrowed his eyes. There are indeed reasons for this, but for the ninja leaders of the villages and the daimyos as the principals, the next match is the most important, right? There is nothing more exciting than this one. Sarutobi frowned, and he looked to the side and hung out a new match list. Team Sasuke Uchiha vs Team Iero, Episode 124. I love Team Luo vs Team Sasuke. Temari on the lounge looked a little nervous. The plan is about to begin. Is it really okay? I love Luo coldly snorted. Just act according to the plan. Don't forget who you are. Kankuro and Temari were stunned, and then their faces calmed down. Yes, they are ninjas. Ninjas only need to obey orders. Sacrificing themselves at critical moments is what they should do. In the other lounge, Shikamaru frowned and looked at the 3 of them and scratched his head. He always felt that these people were not just a simple competition, as if there was something unspeakable. Then he reminded the 3 of Sasuke, "You guys be careful, they're not that simple." However, at this time, the second pillar was in a competent period of soaring strength. Even if Naruto came, he dared to without hesitation, let alone just an unknown ninja from the outer village. Sasuke, as the first newcomer this year, and the legendary only Uchiha orphan, is naturally attracted by all forces. As soon as Sasuke came on the field, he caused a cheer. Several nobles laughed and discussed the win or loss of this game. Sure enough, this game was won by Uchiha. No, I'm looking forward to the newcomers in Shine Village. I won't guess wrong. Ha, in the world of who loses and wins, the progress of things is often unpredictable. The daimyo who supported Sasuke silently gestured to the 2 shinobi, who then nodded and retreated. Most of the ninja bosses and daimyo who came to watch the match came for this match, and the bets outside the court were injected with a huge amount of money. This includes all the funds that will not cut them down on Cardo. At Naruto's behest, Naruto's funds were all pressed on Myero. Under such a huge infusion of funds, this made the Chamber of Commerce sitting behind the bank completely panic. and the daimyo of this small country was one of the bankers. So when Ai Luo and the others entered, several shunrin sneered and blocked the path for the three to enter. A tournament with such a low level as the chunin exam is best used for gambling, and there are several daimyo who come for this purpose. So in the next game, Yusan Ninja Village must lose. Kankuro and Temari looked at the two with sympathy. They didn't even dare to say anything to him at this time because of my hideous expression of Ai Luo. The leader Shangnan sneered and looked at the three of my Ai Luo. This is Rumble. The two crane claws instantly killed the two upper ninjas, and the eyes full of killing intent combined with the excited smile made people shudder. Pat pat. Crisp applause sounded from the passage. Not bad, it's this spirit. Naruto's lazy voice made the three of them tense, and the sand that had not yet been recovered slammed towards Naruto's voice. However, a cold breath hit, and the sand in midair was already frozen in place. Don't be nervous, your opponent is not me. I made a big bet on you. This time is just to cheer you on. Come on, let Urtsuzi know what reality is. Aira's eyes turned red with anger from Naruto's anger, and Kankuro and Temari took 2 steps back in horror. This is after Naruto told me the truth about Aira, and he showed this terrifying expression again. Naruto looked at me Airo and touched his chin. Sure enough, isn't the personality corrected in a while? Then good luck. Don't underestimate the Uchiha family, although it's only Sangoyo. The words fell, and Naruto's figure slowly disappeared in place. Kankuro and Temari were also relieved. They didn't know how strong the man in front of them was, but they knew that if Naruto intervened, the plan of the shinobi village would definitely not go as smoothly as originally planned. Ai Luo supported the wall with one hand, forcibly endured the killing intent in my heart, and calmed my mood. Immediately, the three of them slowly walked into the arena, and at this time, outside the village, a large number of Otonin and Sand shinobi gathered, and in different directions, the Sand Ninja Village began to draw psychic techniques. Third squadron, ready to move at any time. It's okay here. Hear the code and start moving. The man in the meeting room looked at the sun in the sky and muttered, almost? And Sasuke sneered and pointed at the three of them. Hurry up and solve, you guys. I'll still have to find Naruto to settle the score. Xiangyu on the side was not happy. Hey, Sasuke, did you just live in the hospital for so long by Naruto a month ago? Sasuke, who was pretending, froze and said breathlessly, now I am completely different from before. Xiangzhou nodded repeatedly. That's when you were beaten by Naruto's big brother a few days ago and couldn't get out of your hospital bed. Sasuke? Sakura on the side said embarrassed. Don't argue, you're still competing. Humph, humph. The two brushed their heads together and looked at each other unpleasantly. The three of me Ai Luo on the opposite side were as uncomfortable as eating flies. Nima's, Lao Tzu was doing tasks with rope here, and the little fart children on the opposite side were like families. The same as forbearance, how can fate differ so much? It's all this group of damn Konoha ninjas. The three people who thought of this couldn't help it anymore. Temari opened his fan and directly revealed 3 stars, and suddenly deleted it towards the 3 stars. Scythe, the fierce wind mixed with chakra frowned like a sharp blade towards the 3 people, clenched his fist and slammed down towards the ground. The huge chakra slammed into the ground directly along the fist. The fine is not enough chakra to make up. A huge earth wall was instantly smashed by it, acting as a wall of earth flow in front of the 3 people. Many ninjas at the scene were stunned as they watched the violent scene in front of them. It's not how powerful it is, but this old 6 behavior of not treating chakra as chakra is too much. Just the chakra that broke out just now is enough to release 10 earth flow walls, but she uses brute force. In this regard, Xiangli, who is a purebred vortex family, pushed his glasses and said that his sister had chakra. Sakura, Xiangyan shouted, clasped his hands, and dozens of shadow doppelgangers rubbed the spiral pill and rushed towards the 3 of them. Sakura behind her replied, and her hands quickly sealed, doppelganger technique. The originally large number of incense doppelgangers instantly increased tenfold again. Hundreds of incense sticks who looked at the real and the fake rubbed the balls and rushed up. The faces of the 3 of my Ai Luo changed, and they could feel the terrifying chakra contained in those transparent balls. One Chidori is enough to pierce my Ailua's absolute defense, not to mention the spiral pill that is stronger than Chidori attack. At this time, Temari could no longer care about hiding her strength, only to see her channeling a huge psychic scroll shouting, Psychic Chopping Dance. Episode 125. Puppeteer's Nemesis. A stoat holding a huge scythe suddenly popped out from the psychic scroll, and with a hurricane, the stoat loomed in the air, and where it passed, terrifying slashes slashed through Kakashi's shadow avatar and Sakura's illusion. Bang bang bang. White smoke from the explosion of the shadow avatar resounded in all directions. With a scream, Kazuki hid directly behind Sasuke, using him as a shield. Sasuke snorted coldly, and his hands quickly froze. Fire escape how fireball art. A huge fireball erupted directly from Sasuke's mouth and instantly blasted towards the rushing stoat. The white stoat screamed, and directly turned into a white mist and returned to the psychic world fire and wind. And the wind and flame created by chakra were completely different from the fire and wind produced in nature. Normally, the flames in nature can be easily extinguished by the vacuum formed by such a large hurricane. However, the wind attribute chakra was overcome by the fire attribute chakra, and the two converged. and the fire was instantly swallowed by the wind attribute chakra fire, and became more vigorous, and rushed towards Temari. Temari was startled. Is this the exclusive fire of the Uchiha clan? Iai Luo snorted coldly, and a huge stream of sand suddenly rose on the ground, instantly blocking the fireball. The explosion and the heat were all blocked by the sand for several meters away. Temari and Kankuro were relieved when they heard this, although it was said that the two of them postponed the chunin exam, but in the end, they were just ninjas of the ordinary Naka ninja level who had no blood succession limit and no talent. Perhaps because the Wind Shadow bloodline is much stronger than ordinary ninjas in terms of chakra. However, it can be seen from the first and second exams that the two have not reached the strength of the special level of patience after all. It is even far from the strength of the special shinobi level. To put it bluntly, the strength of the two at this time is completely incomparable with Sasuke. At this time, Sasuke has already opened the 3-hook Jade Chakra Eye under Naruto's intervention, and he has already entered the first 3 doors of the 8 doors of Dunjia since he was a child. It can be said that this battle is completely a battle between Era and Sasuke and Kazuki, Temari, Kankuro, Sakura. These ordinary people are completely inaccessible. Sand? Sasuke sneered, only to see him directly take off the weight and disappear from my arrow's eyes in an instant. My Ai Luo's face changed. The Mazo beside him instinctively rose, and with a bang, Ai Luo turned back sharply, and saw that the defense of the sand shield was hit by an invisible force and scattered. So fast. Unlike the authorities, who was obsessed with Iaro, the spectators in the stands could clearly see Sasuke's work quickly, and the whole person directly produced some afterimages surrounding the sand of Iaro. With a bang, Temari and Kankuro's faces were shocked, because they saw that Iaro next to them was directly punched and flew out. I love Luo, Temari shouted worriedly, but at this moment several kunai appeared out of thin air and shot towards her. Teju frowned, and the fan in his hand fell directly to the ground. Boring little trick. I saw that she slammed towards the clearing, and a hurricane swept through, leaving a few drops of blood in midair like a wind blade. Naruto in the stand shook his head. Sure enough, Sakura's talent was so bad, even if she let Red teach her the illusion she was good at, but this so-called good at it was only compared to civilians. It seems that Sakura's only way out is Tsunade's seal. This cultivation method requires an extremely strong chakra control talent, and this method of accumulating chakra is the only way to compensate for Sakura's weakness in chakra's talent. Kankuro on the other side sneered when he saw the blood in the air, and with a sharp wave of his hand, the black ant behind him directly rushed out in the direction of the blood dropping. Don't hit too. Xiangzhen's voice came, let you feel the faith of a girl who can penetrate the rock. At Kankuro's eyes, Kazuki plunged an arm into the ground and threw a huge rock towards his puppet. As a last resort, Kankuro had to take back his puppet. Along with the smoke and dust of the stones falling to the ground, Xiangzhen rushed directly to Kankuro, who was a puppeteer. Fighting puppeteers and fighting hand-to-hand combat is naturally well-known basic intelligence, not to mention the perception plus medical ninja with the same excellent chakra control and Kagura hard eye. A cyan chakra attachment appeared in Xiangyan's hand, a chakra scalpel. Focusing the chakra on the hand can cut any part of the body for further medical treatment, transplant any organ, break the opponent's muscles and meridians in battle, and even use it as a weapon to cut the opponent. The main thing is that this thing can cut the chakra line linking the puppet to the puppet with empty hands, without the help of a chakra knife. Xiangzhen came directly to the back of the black ant in an instant, and the powerful perception force easily cut all the chakra lines linking Kankuro to the black ant. Kankuro looked at Xiangzhen with a bitter expression. This guy is still a medical ninja? You must know that the puppeteer's chakra line is not so easy to cut. At this time, Kankuro simply could not do Chiyo's mother-in-law's kind of micro-operation of disconnecting the wire. The black ant's chakra line is cut off, and unless he retracts the link again, there is no second control at all. Great Kamakura uranium art. Temari once again waved his fan to force Xiangyu back, and if it hadn't been changed to a team battle, this operation alone would have made Kankuro completely passive. But even so, Kazuki's huge chakra and delicate chakra operation still dwarfed Temari and Kankuro. The pure-blooded Vortex clan has an enviable talent for chakra volume and chakra control. On the other side, Iai Luo is no better, and his cultivation and physical skills, which has relied on Mazwa since he was a child, is almost zero. Almost all of his attribute points are focused on spirit and defense. When facing Sasuke's strong enemy with a full movement point and a supporting dynamic vision chakra eye, it is almost a target in front of him. After being shot away by Sasuke again, Era's spirit was facing a breakdown, and his blood-red eyes were glued to Sasuke, with a hideous smile on his face. Kill you. Kill you. A circle of sand wrapped itself in a ball, and an eye of sand condensed from midair and became a tool for my arrow to watch. Absolute defense. A 360-degree defense without dead ends achieved after wrapping the sand into a ball. Although this thing is completely a target for Naruto, it is a complete nemesis for physical ninjas. Iai Luo showed a sneer in the sand, his hands kept imprinting, and his drifting voice slowly came out from the ball. Inshin Zichin. Oh Shitsune. Noon. By body. Episode 126. Konoha's collapse plan. We have to trust Naruto-sama. With a bang, the sand shell shattered, and a miniature crane appeared in front of the audience. Sasuke's brow furrowed, he felt the huge chakra from Gaara. What is this? And the ape flying sun in the stands widened his eyes sharply. Human pillar force? He looked at the wind shadow on the side in shock. You guys actually let Julie come to the competition. However, the big snake pill on the side looked at the ape flying sun mockingly. Isn't there a person in your lower ninja team who is a pillar power? Sarutobi Hinata was stunned when he heard this, and he almost forgot Naruto Uzumaki. This guy is too strong, and he subconsciously excludes him from shinobi every time. Ape flying sun chopper looked at my AI Luo with a somewhat ugly face, and the strength of the half-tailed beast AI Luo greatly increased, the strength and speed of the sand, and the amount of chakra greatly increased. The sand arm, which resembled more Itsura's arm, directly slapped Sasuke out, slammed into the wall, and smashed a puff of smoke. Sass, give! Everyone exclaimed, and the organizer Daimyo 30 in the stand stood up abruptly. Bastard. However, he suddenly found that white feathers seemed to be dancing in the sky. The art of nirvana. The daimyo's eyelids began to unconsciously pull downward. Mix. Eggs, my money. With a pop, the daimyo, who was still shouting, fell asleep directly. Not only the daimyo, but all the audience in the venue began to fall asleep, and the wonderful showdown between Gaara and Sasuke on the field seemed to be unable to attract their attention, and they all lost consciousness. Kakashi. This is. Kai frowned at the feathers in the sky and frowned. Well, it's magic. Kakashi replied, and the two sealed at the same time. Solution. In an instant, the chakra in the body was disturbed, and the illusion in front of him was lifted. Also reacted was the Konoha ninja with the strength of the middle ninja and above. This kind of ultra-large-scale illusion can be easily solved by a ninja with some basic common sense. Shikamaru lay on the ground early and pretended to die, and Naruto also found a comfortable position next to him and pretended to be mired in illusion, which made Shino jump out of the corner of his eyes under the sunglasses, not knowing if he should faint. Marky looked at the feather and swallowed. Has the mask armor started to act? That's pretty much it. He looked at the three generations and the wind shadow at the highest place. At this time the two looked at each other affectionately, and the next moment, the huge smoke bomb exploded directly from between the two, and the huge sound and smoke made Ototo and Sand Shinobu outside Konoha act instantly. Signal. Do it. Psychic. The spell composed of nearly 10 people directly channeled a huge, two-headed giant snake. The faces of Kankuro in the examination room froze. The battle has begun. The two of them jumped out of the examination room directly without caring about the exam, and AI Luo roared, and the originally small body instantly skyrocketed, and a huge crane appeared in the center of the examination room. What is it? Sasuke looked at the monster in front of him with a shocked expression. Even if he opened the second stage of the spell seal, it was still not enough for the upper full-body-tailed beast. Kai, who was in the audience, saw the smoke on the roof and shouted, Naruto-sama. Several dark members suddenly passed by the audience, holding them in the bar, and shouting, leave it to us. Ape Flying Sun Chopper did not panic at this time. Lord Wind Shadow? What do you mean? As a third-generation Hokage, although he is a dish compared to other Hokages, he is still not vain to the shadows of other villages such as Kamisa Shinobi Village. Naruto-sama. And he ran to the three generations nervously, and suddenly several kunai shot directly at him and sent it flying. Naruto-sama. Run. With difficulty, he stretched out his hand and shouted at the ape flying sun. The corners of the three generations' mouths twitched several times, and sure enough, even if these civilian ninjas were promoted, the gap in strength was far from the famous family. Unexpectedly, he was stunned by several bitter animals full of blood, and it seemed that the position of Hokage guard would be re-elected after the matter was over. A white-robed dark troop commander ran to the bottom of the smoke and ordered several overwhelmed dark subordinates, the fire class, go below to protect the daimyo. The rest of the dark department just wanted to step forward to support the ape flying sun but was stopped by the captain. Wait a minute, the situation ahead is unknown, observe first. The three generations in the smoke scolded the mother in their hearts. I grass? Observe a fart, shouldn't you hurry to support? At this time, the wind shadow directly held the ape flying sun hostage in an instant, and jumped to the top of the house. The original stacked R-hut-like E-Ninja F4 instantly separated and jumped towards the roof in all directions, directly opening a purple enchantment. Humph, it's finally our turn. I've been in a state of transformation, and I'm full of desire and dissatisfaction. Humph. You all smell of sweat. Don't be like this, it's all partners. Sarutobi Hinata's face finally changed as he looked at the truncated support. Your Excellency Kazekage, I didn't expect that 400 to San Shinobu would actually betray Konoha. Orochimaru sneered. The so-called treaty is just a trick to make the opponent careless. The boring game is over here, and history will change from now on. Ape Fei Ri finally persuaded. Do you want to start a war? We should avoid the use of force and seek to solve the problem by means of a nuclear bomb, and it is still too late, His Highness Wind Shadow. The big snake pill did not nod, but said with a strange expression, when I am old, I was carried away by peace. Sarutobi-sensei. Ape Feire's expression finally changed drastically. Big snake pill? To say that what he feared the most was undoubtedly the most proud disciple in front of him, because he knew that at this time, he was definitely not the opponent of the Great Snake Pill, one of the three ninjas. Bastard. A drop of cold sweat fell on Ape Feire's forehead, and he looked at the dark part below, but found that they were watching the play outside the enchantment. Yamato under the white robe kept thinking about Naruto's words about Konoha and the high rise, the dark route, and so on. He said to his subordinates, steady, protect the villagers, and trust Naruto-sama. Ape Flying Sun Chop. Wow. Episode 127. You two are enough. At this time, in the venue, Kakashi and Kai saw the four purple flame arrays, preparing to go to the roof to support. Kabuto led several shinobu to block the two of them. Kakashi scratched his head and sighed. Mad Kai said after realizing it, I didn't expect that the enemy would disguise itself as a dark part, and it was also the guy who used the illusion. Naruto, who was not far away and pretended to be dead with Shikamaru, turned over and looked at Kakashi, and the two secretly worried in their hearts. I don't know if these two people are what they think. If they really cover their heads and run to support the third generation, they need to stop themselves. However, as Naruto envisioned, Kai is a reckless man, but not with IQ, and the first factor in being able to become a shinobi is the judgment of the situation, not strength. Kakashi and Kai looked at each other and at the same time looked at the Morizuru in the arena. There is no doubt that in the eyes of the two, the threat of this big guy in front of them is heavier than that of Hokage. I advise you to get out of the way, we are not in the mood to fight you. Kakashi frowned, his first priority now was to stop the damage that Morizuru had caused to the village. Thinking of this, he thought of Mudan who suppressed the tailed beast. What about Naruto? His face changed and he looked around, but he saw Naruto next to Shikamaru scratching his ass with his hand and pretending to be dizzy. And Shikamaru next to him whispered, don't move, won't you be found when you move? Kakashi roared at the two with black lines on his head, you two are enough. This is a tailed beast, so how quickly come and help? Shikamaru sat up helplessly, what did I say? I'll tell you not to move, it's been discovered. Naruto rolled his eyes as he looked at Ototo, who suddenly jumped in front of him, it's not enough to tickle me. I saw that he stretched out his hand to form a tiger seal, and a huge barrier suddenly rose outside the entire venue, the Flying Thunder God Array. The sealing enchantment released outside the village when the wave Feng Shui Gate sealed the 9 tails. Even the Ape Flying Sun Slash led the dark part with a powerful enchantment technique that could only dry and stare outside the enchantment. If this enchantment exists, Shoha's attack will definitely not be able to hit outside the venue. Kakashi breathed a sigh of relief when he saw this, and then he suddenly realized that something was wrong. Wouldn't the audience in the venue suffer so much? Sure enough, the trapped Ailua's consciousness instantly became irritable, and the huge Shoha took a deep breath and smashed it on the stomach. Wind escape practice air bomb. A terrifying wind ball swept the entire venue in an instant. Kakashi, Kai, and the others suddenly changed their faces. Even Kabuto was rushing with grass and mud in his heart, and my Iroh's consciousness began to be confused under the influence of Shizuru chakra, and now the attack is completely indistinguishable from friend or enemy. Marky, let you people be at the equinox. Kabuto yelled at Marky below in pain. Marky pretended to be helpless and said, the unconscious human pillar power can only be stopped by Lord Wind Shadow, and I can't do anything about it. Saying that, he took Kankuro and Temari to hide behind Shizuru, who could not reach the air bullet. At this time, he suddenly found that it was right for Wind Shadow not to send people to support. After all, the fewer the number of people, the fewer accidental injuries. How did he know that their Wind Shadow had been hung up long before the chunin exam, and what had been ordered before was to send Konoha a large snake pill with pillar power? Kakashi's face was ugly when he looked at such a large number of aerial bullets, and this kind of attack was simply not something that ordinary ninjas like them could defend. The reason why tailed beasts can be used by the thousand-hand pillars as a tool to balance the combat power of various countries is entirely because they release a ninjutsu, the scale of which is 100 of ordinary ninjas, times, thousands, even 10,000 times. They themselves may be able to hide or defend. But these civilians are only waiting to die in place. Seeing that the entire venue was about to be strewn with corpses, suddenly a huge golden chakra instantly wrapped the entire audience seat. All the audience was awakened by this huge chakra, disrupting the operation of the chakra in the body. They were stunned to find that what protected them was a huge fox's head. This is Demon Fox? Idiot. What a demon fox, this is Naruto. Some smart people immediately guessed the source of this power. Everyone looked towards the middle of the fox's head, and sure enough, they saw Naruto Uzumaki, who was sitting on Jiro's legs in the audience, and next to him were several Otonin who were bound by Muduan. Kabuto swallowed hard. Sure enough, is this guy already proficient in using the nine-tailed chakra? It is also easy to use. Kabuto sighed helplessly. If he intervened, this plan was basically impossible to succeed. And at this time, Sasuke below looked at Naruto with a shocked expression. Impossible. Is this guy's strength so strong? Sasuke's memory at this time was still stuck in the time when Naruto abused his brother. At that time, the Itachi had not yet opened the kaleidoscope, so in Sasuke's heart, the strength of the Itachi who had opened the kaleidoscope was stronger than Naruto's. And Maki also looked at Naruto with an ugly face. The Nine Tails. The human pillar force of Konoha village has actually mastered the skill of using the power of the tailed beast, and looking at the other party's appearance, his proficiency is much stronger than that of the out-of-control Iai Luo. At this time, his mind was full of trouble, and what he wanted most now was to rule the wind shadow, and the intelligence was wrong so that the companions who followed him quickly retreated. However, when he looked at the wind shadow on the roof, he was stunned to find that after the smoke cleared, the face of the wind shadow had long changed into the appearance of a large snake pill. Impossible. Maki looked at the roof in shock. What about Kazekage-sama? Why big snake pill? A bad premonition flashed in his mind. Could it be that several of them were really completely abandoned? At this time, the big snake pill on the roof was talking to the ape flying sun. Your stupidity has thrown Konoha into a messy situation, and I won, sensei. Ape Feiry looked at the nine-tailed chakra below the venue and sneered. Humph, you won't know the result until the end. I should teach you this, right? I knew this day would come sooner or later, but Ape Feiry's eyes suddenly became fierce. It's not so easy to take off my head. However, Orochimaru smiled dumbly in the face of the threat of the three generations. You won't still expect that nine-tailed imp, right? Teacher, this is not your style. Shouldn't he have touched your bottom line long ago? Sarutobi sneered. I believe in the will of the fourth generation and fire. Once Konoha receives a real crisis, he will definitely make a move. Orochimaru looked at Sandai with a sympathetic expression. I also said that it is better to decide who is the fifth generation Hokage earlier, because the third generation, that is, you, will definitely die here today. Episode 128. Flying Ape / The Big Snake Pill. Moriabiki and the people of the torture department looked at the city wall that had been damaged by the psychic giant snake with a solemn expression. One of his subordinates hurriedly asked, "What should I do? Are we going to support?" Moriabiki shook his head. No, there will be danger in acting in unclear situations, and it is even more dangerous if the mastermind is Orochimaru. These newly promoted ninjas asked with a strange look, is Orochimaru such a dangerous character? None of them had experienced the splendor of the legendary Sanshin, and they had no idea their place in Konoha. Moriabiki introduced, he was originally a student of the third generation Hokage. Nanny. Then why did he become a rebel? Moriabiki fell silent. In the past, when he decided on the fourth generation Hokage, he heard that Orochimaru claimed that he was the most qualified candidate, but he was not accepted by everyone, and it didn't take long for him to leave the village, and Orochimaru probably held a grudge against the third generation because of this matter. Although Sarutobi Hinata was driving Orochimaru out of Konoha in the name of human experiments, but in order to save himself a little way back, Sarutobi did not spread the news to the village. After all, the apprentices he taught themselves know that they may use this 937 high-end combat power at critical moments. Even the small countries know the movements of one of the three ninja who are famous in this ninja world. As a politician, Ape Flying Sun Chopper naturally will not completely fall out with him. It's just that he didn't expect that his will of fire was too well publicized, and this Sanshin, who was bent on Konoha, decided to kill him and change him to a qualified Hokage to help Konoha move forward. And at this moment, a ninja appeared instantly. Report, a large snake has appeared near the east gate of Konoha, followed by about 100 sand ninjas, and is now engaged in battle with patrolling ninjas. Sanabi hurriedly ordered when he heard this, 1 or 2 groups stay to help the civilians evacuate, and the rest go to the east gate. Yes, the outskirts of Konoha have a large amount of flat land and suburbs as buffers, and huge psychic giant snakes sweep all the way like bulldozers. A ninja descends from the roof and unites to attack the snake, but with its huge size, even the fire is like a fireball. As a pre-official independent of ninja illusion, psychic art has extremely powerful power. In particular, the snakes, toads, and slugs summoned by the three ninja are the natives who practiced in the ninja world before the invasion of the Atsuki clan. This kind of giant is basically very difficult to deal with without a shadow-level powerhouse, and in World War II, Hanzo almost single-handedly destroyed the Konoha troops in the entire battlefield of Yuin village. If it weren't for the defeats in other battlefields, even the three of Jiraiya, who were shinobi at that time, would have been on the spot. At this time, Jiraiya outside the venue also looked at the arena shrouded in enchantment, and as soon as this enchantment came out, he knew that Ape Hibiki was dead, because it represented that Naruto Uzumaki decided to intervene. He took one last look at the teacher who had taught him, a complicated look flashed on his face, and then turned and flashed away in the direction of the big snake. As Ebisu said, Orochimaru, one of the three shinobi, can only be dealt with by himself, who is also one of the 3 shinobi. At this time, the big snake pill was not the disabled person who lost ninjutsu who was banned because he was too strong. Even a large snake is especially tricky for Konoha now. Kakashi in the meeting room scratched his head with a glance at Otonobi. It seems that there are quite a few people. Kai nodded and said, careless, even Naruto-sama. The two looked at Shizuru below, and then looked at Naruto, who couldn't help, and sighed, anyway, let's find a way to solve this big guy first. Kabuto glanced at Naruto with trepidation, and then led several Ototo to sneer, you're afraid that I don't exist. At this time, the audience who was awakened by Naruto looked panicked, watching the ninja who was constantly fighting above his head and the central roaring Moratsuru shivering. Iai Luo looked at the enchantment next to me with madness in her eyes. It's you. It's you again. Iroh roared, and a huge sand arm suddenly appeared on the ground and shot towards Naruto. The spectators in the stands were trembling with fear, and the sight of ever-present peace created by the ape-flying sun slash. The ninja war seemed to have nothing to do with them civilians, and now that the war was happening in front of them, they felt the fear that ninjas faced. Everyone, even under the protection of Naruto nine-tailed chakra, still wanted to run towards the outside of the field and try to get out of here. The ninjas mixed in the crowd naturally knew that they could not leave the enchantment, and they shouted with ugly faces, don't run around. Don't leave the protected range of the nine-tailed chakra. But in the face of such a horrific attack, how could a few shouts stop it? Everyone rushed to squeeze out here, but many unlucky guys were directly stepped on the crowd. Naruto watched all this coldly and did not stop it. Just like after Pain attacked the village, he became a hero. If they did not sacrifice themselves, they would not have accepted themselves as demon foxes. Only when they know that it hurts, they will remember it for a long time, and the civilians in the ninja world are all this kind of urine sex that does not see the coffin and does not shed tears. So Naruto particularly agreed with Nagato's concept of making everyone feel pain. After all, there was a word called empathy in the previous life. When the mushroom egg was planted in the country of the small day, the whole world felt the same fear, so the world was leveled. If it really follows Orochimaru's plan, after the entire Konoha collapse plan is over, how many civilians in the encounter will die in Shinobi? Where is there such a good thing? Why do you have to protect this group of selfish guys who don't even pay taxes and only know how to chew the root of their tongue all day? Then Naruto looked at the roof, and at this time Orochimaru looked at the chaotic Konoha with a few tears in his eyes. Ape Fei Rechop smiled slightly. Are you crying when you are happy? Or do you say, if you want to kill me, this master will still feel a little sad in my heart. As a single ordinary bloodline and the background of the Warring States clan, he single-handedly destroyed the Senju clan and the Uchiha clan. Even though he was more or less expected of what would happen to him next, his expression did not waver in the slightest. No matter what kind of damage he caused to Konoha, but he has developed the Sarutobi clan into one of the largest families in Konoha, and it is not an exaggeration to say that the first family of Konoha, after all, without the Senju clan and the Uchiha clan, even the Hinata clan cannot rely on physical skills alone to fight against the Sarutobi clan with the 5 series of ninjutsu and talent on the ceiling scroll. Therefore, seeing the tears of the big snake pill, Ape Flying Sun did not hesitate to make mockery and did not make any plans to persuade. Because he knows his apprentice, since he is here, one of them will die. Episode 129. Old man, up. Kill him. Hearing the Ape Flying Sun slashing mockery, the big snake pill slowly raised the kunai in his hand, and stabbed into his palm in the surprised expressions of everyone. With a pop, blood splattered. Immediately, he put down the arm that was holding the Ape Flying Sun's neck and yawned, rubbing tears at the corners of his eyes very naturally. Yawn, I've been sleepy since just now, and now I'm finally sober up a lot. Ape Fairy Chopper smiled slightly. I knew it was so. From the beginning to the beginning of knowing that it was the Great Snake Pill, he believed that he would never do it directly to himself, and there should still be a ritual. Orochimaru let go of the 3 generations and slowly walked to the side. Sarutobi looked at his once proudest apprentice and spoke. I know that you are not a man who will act out of hatred, you have neither a purpose nor a motive. The big snake pill slowly stopped his figure. Yes, but there is still a purpose. If you have to say it, it's funny to see something that moves, and it's boring to be motionless. Windmills that can't turn, although sometimes you feel very good when you look at the mood, but basically there is no value in looking at them. Now I want to use the gust of wind to destroy Konoha to make the windmill start turning. Ape Flying Sun smiled crookedly when he heard this. Humph, you still haven't changed at all. He knew that Orochimaru was alluding to Konoha's fact that it had been a long time since he had changed in a long time, and since his last failed competition for the 4th generation of Hokage, he had maintained a denial attitude towards the top of his faction. After all, anyone who was robbed of the position of Hokage by an unknown junior was angry. At that time, Orochimaru promised Danzo to agree to participate in the Hokage election, but on the other hand, Shirdai was completely surprised and confused when he heard that he shared the news with Jyoshina after becoming a Hokage, indicating that he did not believe that he would become the 4th Hokage. At that time, because of the war, the election of the 4th generation of Hokage was completely directly appointed by the daimyo, and then handed over to the villagers to vote. It is a pity that at that time, Sarutobi had already firmly controlled the relationship between public opinion and the daimyo. Even if he pushes an ordinary shinobi as a Hokage, he can easily succeed. Sarutobi was non-committal about Orochimaru's evaluation of himself. He thought that there was nothing wrong with letting Konoha village enjoy peace for so many years in peace. If it weren't for something wrong with Naruto, he would have controlled the two major combat forces of the Nine Tails and the Uchiha clan who controlled the Nine Tails at this time. It is not impossible to lead Konoha back to the top. Thinking of this, Sarutobi looked at Naruto who was paddling on the rostrum with a complicated face. At least this was Konoha's last reliance. He believed that Naruto's statement that Konoha would strike when it was destroyed. After all, unlike the original, for so many years, Konoha has never treated him badly, even if it is not of his own free will. But Naruto has still been a junior in Konoha for nearly 10 years. At this time, the spectators in the audience all ran outside the arena. Although they couldn't get out of the enchantment, they were still far away from what they thought was dangerous. Of course, they were only safe, and Naruto, who had lost his protection target, decisively withdrew the nine-tailed chakra. I'm going to support Naruto-sama, you guys continue. Naruto smiled and left the stance directly. Several Otanabu, who did not know whether they were dead or alive, were ready to step forward to block it, but were stopped by Kabuto. Leave him alone, just stop the Shang Shinobu here from coming to support. Although the 4 purple yen array is very powerful, it can't withstand the strong attack of many ninjas. After all, in the case of not changing their bodies, the 4 people of ninja are only at most the strength of the special ninja level. With their chakra, if they are really bombarded by the enemy with ninjutsu, even if it is through the enchantment, it still can't last long. At this time, the 4 people of Otonin looked at the big snake pill who was ready to make a move and hurriedly opened the inner enchantment. Seeing this, Ape Fei frowned. It seems that you can't go out simply. The big snake pill laughed. Duplicity, for you, letting those burdens in will only hinder your battle. Sarutobi looked at Naruto, who flew up and rolled his eyes. Kind of you let this guy in and try it. Naruto came to the enchantment and smiled at the ape flying sun, shouting, yo. Old man. Above. Kill him. The ape flying sun chopper in the enchantment was full of MMPs in his heart, but the opponent at this time was not at all distracted by him to fight. I saw the two suddenly jumped up at the same time, and the ape flying sun chopper quickly sealed the seal in his hand. Ninfa wa shuriken art. The tiles on the roof suddenly flew up one by one and smashed towards the big snake pill, and Naruto outside the enchantment complained, don't you be afraid to step on the void. The dark part on the side was full of black lines. Too naive, the big snake pill sneered, and directly dodged in an instant and shouted, hidden shadow snake hand. Ape Fei frowned, and hurriedly focused his attention on the hands of the big snake pill, but after the big snake pill finished speaking, he suddenly opened his mouth, and his tongue turned into a python, instantly biting the neck of the ape flying sun. Ape Fei chopped? Nemas, what about the shadow snake hand, what about your hand? The big snake pill in midair mocked loudly, an attack of this magnitude. I really don't want to get old, Sarutobi-sensei. However, in the next moment, the figure of the ape flying sun slash suddenly turned into a pool of dirt, and the earth escaped as a substitute. The big snake pill frowned, and looked behind him sharply. At this time, the ape flying sun chop had already formed a hand seal. To do until you great river. In an instant, the mudslide rushed and the big snake pill flew away, but the big snake pill who was rushed away didn't care at all and laughed. Is this just this thing? Ape Fei screamed. It's not over yet. The art of Earth Dragon Bullet. Fire Dragon Bomb. At the same time, the 3 ninjutsu instantly swept towards the great snake pill, instantly submerging it. Orochimaru's screams rang out from the mudslide. Several black-robed dark people outside the enchantment said with adoration, it actually combined the fire done and the earth done together. Worthy of Naruto-sama. Naruto on the side pouted with disdain. This TM is also called union? Look down on the meltdown. Although Sarutobi Hinata's review ninjutsu name shocked the ninja world, Naruto never raised any idea of learning from him, because this thing was purely a multi-attribute ninjutsu released at the same time, and it really had no technical content. He is called a ninjutsu professor entirely because he is able to perform local attribute ninjutsu at any time, thus giving him an advantage in battle. And when he really encountered the powerhouse of the blood succession limit, his so-called review ninjutsu basically had no advantage. At this time, in a corner of Konoha village, a ninja wearing various clan uniforms landed in front of a pothole. Episode 130, Attack on the Root Base. Evidence of the crime of the ape flying sun. What man? Trespassing into the dark part. Hinata, who suddenly rushed out with a cat-faced mask and blocked a group of family ninjas, sneered, dark part. Root it. Although the root has been absorbed into the dark part by the ape flying sun on the night of the Uchiha extermination, the root base is still retained by the ape flying sun. The dark part of the guard saw that the ninja of various families felt numb, and this place contained almost all the famous families of Konoha, led by the Hyuga clan, the Inuga clan, and almost all the famous ones in Konoha appeared here. Are you planning to defect? The dark part shouted sharply, and Hinata sneered expressionlessly. Mutiny? No, we intend a coup d'état. As soon as Hinata's voice fell, many families rushed up directly, and the face of the dark department changed greatly, and he didn't have time to react and was directly killed on the spot. Many ninja clans lead the team are all elite upper ninja, and with the civilian shadow department recruited by the ape flying sun, at best, it is only the elite middle ninja level. There are no more than 10 squad leaders at the upper shinobi level, not to mention that Kakashi, an elite upper shinobi, was kicked out of the dark team by him. At this time, the strongest in the dark part was undoubtedly Tenzo Yamato, but at this time, he was watching a play with Naruto outside the enchantment of the Naruto exam hall. At this time, most of the dark parts were scattered in Konoha's important secret places to prevent the invasion of the Great Snake Pill, and the root base at this time was in a completely empty situation. Under the leadership of the strong shinobi, many ninjas directly cleared the few remaining dark parts. Hinata and the others quickly searched for some shady documents that the dark parts and roots had made over the years. When the last prohibition was broken, everyone was shocked by the thick stack of materials. Since 3 generations in office, the research program of intercolumn cells has begun. For this reason, they sacrificed countless ninjas of the Senju clan who voluntarily participated in the research. What shocked them even more was that they actually found the information of the Thousand Hands rope tree, the grandson of the Thousand Hand Pillars, in the data. Not to mention that he participated in the Ninja World War as a shinobi, he was inexplicably attacked by enemy traps in the rear under the personal care of the Great Snake Pill, and after arriving at the speed of the Great Snake Pill, all the internal organs were dug up. And all this is due to the plan of Shimura Danzo and Sarutobi Hinata, and that is, under the clone of the internal organs of this descendant with the strongest blood of Azura, and after the tragic death of dozens of babies, the only copycat version of the wooden ninja Tenzo Yamato was successfully born. And there are countless measures such as secretly sending the direct line of the Senju clan to the most dangerous battlefield, dividing the female relatives of the Senju clan into marriages with Konoha civilians, and diluting the bloodline of Senju. By the end of the 3 battles, the entire Konoha no longer had any direct descendants of the Senju clan except for the only one Tsunade. Even Tsunade had been plotted on the battlefield, and at that time, Konoha Sanshin was not a Sanshin, just an ordinary kami shinobi. Surrounded by false information, he was surrounded by the ninja of Iwahide village, and it was on that occasion that Orochimaru wanted to kill the seriously injured Jiraiya to save himself and Tsunade's lives. And Zillai also chose to believe in the big snake pill without hesitation. Fortunately, the strength of the 3 was strong, and they were finally rescued until the arrival of reinforcements. Later, he was sent to the dangerous battlefield of Yuin village to face off with the demigod Hanzo, which was originally a certain death, but because Kiki Shuamao made a big show in the battlefield of Sand Ninja Village and killed the parents of the Scorpion, the battle situation changed dramatically. Hanzo was worried that Konoha would find trouble with him, and finally let the 3 of them go. And it was this time of fame that made Ape Flying Sun lose his last chance to secretly calculate Tsunade. The strong people who have grown to the shadow level cannot be solved by assassination. Therefore, Sarutobi Hinata played the emotional card again. In order to promise the benefits of the rise of the Kato clan, a small clan on the edge of Konoha village sent Kato to break close to Tsunade, ready to completely take Tsunade under his command. As a result, this indisputable thing died in the Third Ninja World War. Originally, Kato's role was to increase Tsunade's bond like Irika, but because of his death, Tsunade was directly disheartened and replaced with a fear of blood and left Konoha directly. Not only that, but this also includes the order of Danzo to order Orochimaru to study human experiments, and the data uses public opinion to force Chimu Shuamao, who threatened the position of Sarutobi Shinosuke Hokage at that time, to use Mist Hidden Village to eliminate the country of vortexes, taking the opportunity to master the sealing technique and human pillar power, using the plan of Yunin Village to prepare to force Hinata to death, and then split the divided family and the clan family, use Uchiha Itachi to exterminate the Uchiha clan in advance. Everyone was furious at this heinous pile of information, and what made many ninjas even more angry was that they found information about the assassination of their own people in these materials. It's like the first time Uchiha Itachi received the task of root was to kill a ninja with small black sunglasses, which was the clan of the Oil Lady. Hinata's eyes were full of anger. If Naruto hadn't appeared to save himself, Sarutobi Hinata would have provoked the clan to divide the clan and divide the Hyuga clan. He endured his anger and said lightly to many ninjas, "Let's go, Naruto-sama is waiting for us at the venue. We can't be like these 2 bastards, even if it is a coup, we must stand above the righteousness." Everyone looked at each other and nodded directly. A group of people used the sealing scroll to collect the information and rushed directly towards the venue. This time, they are going to expose this hypocritical Hokage and make this scum who only knows how to hide in Konoha and watch everyone die. Konoha village was established to protect the children of various families from war, instead of becoming a tool for someone's profitable development. And just when everyone was angry to find Ape Face Sun to cut trouble, on a mansion in the central area of Konoha village, Two men wearing trench coats with red clouds and black backgrounds slowly stood on the roof. "Mr. Itachi, how does it feel to be back home?" The grinning Oni sneered at Uchiha and said, "Who would have thought that someone in your village would hire us to kill the leader of your own village? The price is still a tailed beast." Uchiha Itachi glanced at the Oni with an expressionless face, and then he looked at the room below with a complicated face. Could it be that what he did was wrong? This scene has finally played out again, and in the mansion at this time an old man who was half wrapped in bandages slowly opened one eye.